So let's say that this is the level I have, and it's the level that I've been playing with for a couple videos now. Let's say that we have Mambo here, and we want him to get stuck here, or at least seem to get stuck. His goal is actually just a little bit further. Well, you know what? Actually, I'm going to shrink this down because I want to make sure you can see the goal. So instead, I'm going to put that right before the goal, right? So you can see it, but you can't get to it, which should cause maybe a little bit of frustration, but that's okay. You might have various reasons for doing this, but basically what I want is I want him to be able to get through here through like a little secret passage where it seems like there's no way possible, but really, if you know what you're doing, you can get through just fine. So if I play this right now, these have collision, right? There are boxes here, this form, this ground, he can't get through it. So how can I make sure that he can get through it? I have a couple options. So let's take a look at sort of how these tiles work with collision. If we go back to dashboard, I can go to the tile set, I can double click it, and we can see that here is our tile set. So if I click on any of these, they have collision, right? If I click on something else, like over here, like these little bits of air, these don't have any collision. So Mambo can move freely through them. Now I have some options. I could try to take this and like copy them and make some more down here where once it has collision the other one doesn't. That's one way to do it. If I don't really want to mess with actually trying to modify the graphics of the tile set, the other thing that I could do is I could actually tell it that none of these have collision, that these three don't have collision. And instead I can choose one of these special empty squares and just remember which one it is, don't accidentally use it later, and give that one collision. So it's a box that looks like nothing, looks like air, but has collision. And I go back to my test program, and I test it. I'm not done yet, but let me just show you what it's doing so far. The ground itself still has collision because that's not that middle section, that's the top. So that is unaffected. However, when I get here, Mambo can start to walk through it. The problem becomes is that if you don't jump right, you can fall straight through, and that's a little bit of a problem. However, down here in the editor I have these layers, and I could add a new layer, and I can either do a new background layer or a new tile layer. I'm going to do a new tile layer because I want this to actually interact with Mambo and Pronger and anything else. So on here, I could go in with these invisible tiles that I just made and make sure he doesn't fall through. And I'm going to start with one of these so that way I can make sure that I have correctly made sure you can't fall through, because I could miss one on accident and you could fall through the map like we saw. So now that I have sort of these as a little guide, now I can erase them, so to speak, with this tile. And now Mambo should be able to walk through that little passageway. So if we move along, this little part right here should block me from entering, which it does, so that's good. And this part down here should also do so. And then when I get over here, there we go. I have a little, oops. Oh, what happened there? I must have accidentally put some invisible tiles there. So I didn't do it right then at that moment, but when I was first making this level, I must have moved something and replaced it with those tiles down there that I used. So this will affect previously made tiles as well. but we can see it works. But that does lead me to the next point that I was going to mention, and that is that you can also use those tiles to make like little like hidden, special, secret skywalkways too. So what I need to do is I need to replace those tiles. I'm not sure exactly which one it was, so I'm just going to color that whole section there. And now I can go in and I can add some little secret tiles somewhere else. Now, when we're coloring with invisible blocks, it might be a little hard to know exactly where you're coloring. You can put on this grid if you want, and that could make it a little bit easier to see what we're doing, or where it might be going. So maybe I don't want a secret passageway there. Maybe I want that you have to actually find this secret skywalkway. So now if I test it, the middle of that column should no longer be a pathway, which it's not. So instead, I have to figure out where that hidden walkway is, which I just hit a moment ago because my jump is a little too high. I should shrink that down a bit. There we go. Found it. There we go. And now I can jump over to be able to go to the next level. So it's not hard to do if you know how to do it, and it could create some interesting experiences or secrets that you could include in your games.